And there's some people that we will connect on a soul level with. And in this soul level, this is where, like, when I'm talking to my friend, like I bumped into my friends, the Jacksons, the other night at dinner. We haven't talked to each other in a very long time. We have been throwing back and forth dinner dates going, hey, how about this one? How about this one? And no one's been able to commit to like an actual time to get together. They might be blowing me off. I don't think they are. Welcome back to Life at 10 Tenths, where we inspire you to live at the pinnacle of your ability and purpose. Matt Benelli is here with me. My name is Garrett Fry, and we're excited to be spending some time with you today. Matt and I had a moment that came out of one of our group coaching calls here just the other day, and we get into some incredible discussions. We had a group of, I don't know, Matt, we had 20 plus people on, and it's a time where we get to teach everybody some stuff, but also they get to bring their questions. They get to jump in and go like, here's what I'm dealing with in my business right now. Here's what I'm struggling with. Here's a roadblock that I've come up against. And they throw it at Matt and I, and we rip it apart. And what's cool is the rest of the crew, all the people on there get to throw in their, like, here's how I fixed that too. And here's how I worked with this. And we had a great one that we said, we need to like talk about this on a bigger scale. We need to throw this out to the world. And Matt, you agreed. And dude, Good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning to you. I love our group coaching sessions, and what's great is because you get to ask questions and talk about things that a lot of other people might want to talk about, but maybe they don't want to ask the question, or they feel like it's only them. And this particular topic is something that I think a lot of people feel, particularly in the real estate business. And we're talking about introverts. That's going to be what we're going to go through today. And Garrett, whenever we've talked about this in the past, or I hear people talk about it, it's very light on, here, just kind of like, either suck it up or do this outside of the business. Like, no one really has good concrete. I mean, and people do, I should say, but there's a lot of advice around the business, meaning like just do the business the way everybody does and go recharge elsewhere, versus developing a strategy that actually helps you do the business in a way that still fuels you. And yes, if you are a introverted type of person, then you still will need that recharge in. But how do you build that into a whole routine and a lifestyle so that the business doesn't suck it out of you? Because let's face it, real estate is a 24/7 industry. It doesn't mean that you should be 24/7. In fact, we advocate hardly against that. Yeah. However, introverted people can get sucked into that more so than extroverts, because they don't want to let people down. And they feel like they need to show up at a different way, and that stress slows them down, which then puts them into work even more. So I'm excited to go down this path because it definitely came up in a big way yesterday.
But let's start this off with, Matt, how many people have you come across in all of your coaching years that have come to you and said, I'm an extrovert? I've never had somebody. I've never had anybody that goes, I'm a true extrovert. It's not as common as people think. I think everybody thinks in sales and in real estate that like, I'm this awkward introvert and I'm trying to fit in amongst all these extroverts. Most of the people out here would define themselves as introverts. Most people would define themselves as introverts in this sea of extroverts, trying to go like, I hope I can make this business work. I'm trying my best to do my stuff. I'm kind of struggling with making all these phone calls, because you know what, I'm maybe a little bit more introverted, and I need to kind of figure out how to work with this. And I think it's like, oh my gosh, own it. Own it. It's not something to run away from. It's not a bad thing. That introverted side, Matt, we've both discussed, it allows you to have deeper, meaningful relationships with groups of people. It does. Introverts naturally want a smaller group that they know way better, where the true extrovert knows 1,000 people about an inch deep. Like, they really don't know a ton about everybody, but they know a lot of people. So as we go through this, Matt, I think it's important, and this is what came out of that group call, was like, hold on a second. Let's not put this label of being an introvert as a bad thing. Like, that's not what it is.
It's definitely not a bad thing. And I would argue, extroverts do great in real estate if you have the skill set to then go perform, right? Everything comes down to skill set. Introvert or extrovert really is not a trait that matters. And I actually find that traditional sales, like outside of real estate where you're selling a product or a service kind of one time versus developing an entire business that has a customer service aspect, a account management aspect to it, but just traditional sales. Think door-to-door sales, someone who's selling solar or, something like that. I actually find introverts do the best there because they don't fear rejection as much as extroverts do. Right? Yep. Introverts are willing to just follow a plan and a system and just go, okay, this is what I got to do. And the key characteristic of a good salesperson then comes in, are you willing to practice? Are you willing to perform? And that's the element. And there's introvert or extrovert doesn't matter there. But now we get over to real estate and we get into like this whole long-term relationship thing. And yeah, I totally get it. There's like, I don't want to go out and meet 100 people. I don't want to go to all these things and have all these surface level conversations to try to get to the next level and then get to know these people. Like, I don't really want to call my clients every 3 months to like see how their dog is doing. Like, that's not me. And I'm like, cool. That's totally okay because that's not the core of the business. Yeah, that can help you build great relationships. But if that's not your skill, we got something for you here.
Well, and this is where like we brought it up on the group calls, like don't get stuck in chit chat. And I find that like chit chat is one of it's one of those places that you feel like we're talking to people, but it's just this kind of fluffy layer of just stuff where you don't really care all that much. They don't really care all that much. That's like the power of chit chat. It's like you stand with your neighbor in the front yard, hands on hips, just going like, so like, what projects are you working on in the house right now? Like, it's just chit chat. We're not really caring all that much. Yeah. And I think sometimes we get into this with our database and things like this, that we've got to have this like kind of level of chit chat with all of them. And I would say back away from that. And I think that the more so you can, Matt, this is what we're going to talk about today. And I think people are going to walk out of this one with actually some like, oh, like I got a tool out of this one. Is that, how can you systematize this so that, a good group of your people are just getting a regular touch and engagement from you. And then you have your people that you're like, I actually care about them, because we hear people actually say, I don't care. I don't want to know. I don't want to talk to you that often because I really, truly don't care that much about your child. Like, that's pretty strong, but underlying that really exists.
Yeah, I think there's a mindset focus that we need to work on there of like, okay, let's care about the client, but you don't have to care about how like relationships outside of business necessarily. And what I mean by that is you're not looking for new best friends, right?
No.
And so you'd mentioned a couple things, and this kind of blends two really great points for introverts to succeed. The first is you were saying about like cut the chit chat, right? And this is where introverts can do really, really well because a lot of times introverts want to get down to business. They're usually really great at guiding people through a process. They might even be really good at looking at data. And so focus on the education aspect. Make sure that you have all of your touch points surrounded by, home value trends, supply and demand things going on, certain things that have to do with home ownership. Just make your relationship about education and being a trusted advisor. Focus on those insights, and that's going to be a key to helping you have good touch points. And they don't necessarily have to be through the phone and things like that. We have a whole engagement engine there that you can pull from, right, Garrett?
Well, that's what I think is great to lean into is like, it's not you having to call and be like, hey, I want to let you know like what's going on with the market. And like, here's all the appreciation rates. Like, what? No. This is just stuff that you can have through email. You can have through social media. You can have through other places, postcards that can show up in people's worlds. And all of a sudden it's like, okay, it's a touch point. I got to hear from Matt Benelli, and I got a touch of real estate, and there you go. Like, we just need to have those touch points going out there. And I think as somebody who would classify themselves as an introvert would lean in and go, okay, that's a way I can have energy going out to these people. And no, I don't have to be on the phone with them and hear about their daughter's, music recital that I'm smiling through it going like, I need to be on the phone with the inspector right now. I don't need to be here hearing about Sally's, music recital. I get it.
And honestly, this is where I think we see a lot of extroverts win in real estate over introverts, because most real estate agents aren't flooding out education, right? The information is just not going out. Like, not enough people are getting high quality value from their advisor outside of some of those phone calls. And the people who really love those phone calls, they do really well because there's no one else placing authority with those people. And so if you build a foundation of authority through education, and you make that a pillar of your business and your communication, it's going to help you establish a good presence, be memorable, but also be able to attract the business without having to, do massive client events, do a ton of one-on-one coffees and everything. And so for those of you who haven't heard the engagement before, I think it's worth mentioning, Garrett, and we teach this inside our 11 circle coaching program, is you basically have the left side of this. These are all gears that work together, right? And a lot of systems will say, here's the precise number of things you need to do, which is a great baseline. But when you get to see all this together, you get to make it work for you and figure out, okay, which gears do I want to amplify? And on the left side of it, you have kind of your one-to-many communications, your marketing, your social media kind of stuff, and it kind of comes into text messages and whatnot. That's stuff you can scale and is really great for people who are introverts. Then on the right side, we have our more direct one-to-one communication, which even if you're an introvert, you're going to have, but you're going to have it with a smaller group of people, which gives you the opportunity to put really great effort in there. And then you get to see, okay, how do I make all these gears work together so that it churns out business for me year after year after year, which is really, really great. So know that you have the option to make this all work for you. You just have to make sure that you are pairing the right volume of touch points with the correct medium and also with your comfort level.
Well, and I kind of was picking on this, person that has the child that maybe has the, music recital or things like that. And like, who really cares? But I think the interesting thing is that there are us that do care. We have built a relationship with that person. We're not just asking about how's your child doing and what are they doing currently right now with their love for music. Like, we're not just saying it because it's just chit chat. Like, I'm asking because I truly care. And I think that we need to understand who the people are in our database, who are the ones that we have connected with on a different level. And Matt, we came up with a system, you and I, that's like, so there's the surface level conversations, and then there's the story of these people's lives just below it. And what we're trying to figure out is, what is their story? And there's some people that we will connect on a soul level with. And in this soul level, this is where, like, when I'm talking to my friend, like I bumped into my friends, the Jacksons, the other night at dinner. We haven't talked to each other in a very long time. We have been throwing back and forth dinner dates going, hey, how about this one? How about this one? And no one's been able to commit to like an actual time to get together. They might be blowing me off. I don't think they are.
I think that's just normal human behavior. We have trouble committing to things.
But the cool part is we bump into them and all of a sudden, they've got their daughter Peyton with them. And so all of a sudden we're talking about what is she up to with college, and she's off to Italy right now for the summer. And like the things that I got to learn, like I really care about that family. I want to know about that trip. I am going to follow up with David and be like, hey, like, tell me all about what Peyton's up to right now and how's that trip going for her and what is she seeing? And it was great to see her that night because I haven't seen her in a long time. And Peyton's got this fiery, fun energy that I just love about this child. And to see that and be around it, I'm like, I miss the Jacksons so much. There's people that you got to look at and go, okay, those are my core group that I'm going to make those phone calls to. I'm going to engage. It's not chit chat. It's a whole different level of connection and soul that we need to understand in our database who we have at these different levels. Don't force the ones that we're going like, well, I know I'm supposed to ask about this and I don't really care, but I'm supposed to ask. It's like, let some of those people go off to just getting the postcard, just getting the emails, just getting the stuff. Maybe it's a once a year phone call during the holidays. And the rest of the ones that you truly care about, pour into them and build. That will give you so much more reward in your business. And it's important to understand, like, don't force it with the wrong people. It's ugly, actually, when you force it with the wrong people.
Well, and this gets into the other thing that you were saying, Garrett, which is building a system, right? And I see so many times people don't have systems for their business. We just did our last episode. It was all about systems, operating procedures, right? Having good systems. And this is crucial for introverts to have a system of how they're going to do their connections so that you can minimize the burnout that happens. Because a lot of times people who need that, like just alone time to recharge, end up getting there sooner by not being aware of how much outbound and communication they're going to be doing, right? And this is where you can win really, really well as an introvert, because if you just get consistent with, hey, I'm going to do an hour power, I'm going to do these text messages, or I'm going to do these videos, or whatever system you build for yourself, I'm going to do these market impact reports, and this is how I'm going to structure them, and this is how I'm going to get them out, and this is how many people, and you will be able to show up so much more for your people in a different way than they've seen any other realtor show up for them before, which is going to elevate you, which is going to get them to talk about you to their friends, which is going to bring in the referrals. But if you don't have the system, this is where you end up kind of just running as hard as you can, and then you just hit a brick wall, and you need more time. Like an extrovert can like take a few hours, like, whew, that was a lot of calls, man. I just need to like get a little sleep tonight, and then I'm back at it tomorrow. Whereas an introvert might be down for a week, right? Like, oh man, I need to really recharge and relax and do all these things, which really interrupts the habit pattern, which makes it really hard to kind of have that, you know, little bit of consistent growth of that 1% better every day. So just build yourself a system, save yourself the burnout by just having that foundation there.
Well, and we've kind of broken it down to like create these high trust, low volume type business models where it's like you've got this ability of building some really high trust with a group of people. And what it does is it allows you to save a lot of time. The volume side of this is the time that you spend around all of this stuff. Like instead of spreading yourself super thin with a ton of people, like you get to bring this back into this very high trust. And it's why, Matt, that I find when people really build a strong referral relationship business, you don't need a whole lot of people. When that trust level goes up, when that relationship level goes up because you found the right people, you said no to the right people to have them in that group, and you said yes to the right people, because we've been around a lot and we've hand selected the ones that we really are like, ooh, I like you. I like you. Come here. I'm going to ask you more questions. We're going to engage on a different level. We naturally have like for like interests. This is an easy growth. This is an easy one over here. This one over here, I'm fascinated by you, but I feel like I'm chasing you. Like it's not an easy growth opportunity. Like we don't have enough in common, even though I think you're a really interesting person. And I think we can get lost in some of these areas of like gather the easy relationships. They're easier to make your phone calls to. They're easier to write notes to. They're easier to say, hey, let's go grab lunch together. Like it makes everything easier when you're finding those right people. So, and that builds that really high trust business that you're looking for.
Huge. And I think what's cool is like you see this when with the engagement engine for people like this, you end up with like these big gears on the right side of these like one-on-one, you know, personal interactions. Like I got my 5 best friends that I hang out with all the time. Like I see them at the gym every day. We do lunch once a week and all that kind of stuff. And then everybody else is just on this marketing plan over here. Like we have everyone getting like all this education and information over here. And then I'm going deep with just these few people here. And then the middle doesn't happen that much. Like, yeah, for my clients and customers, there's regular market impacts and maybe some text messages that go out every so often, every 4, 5, 6 months or something, but I'm not doing that every 30 days things like maybe another person who's really good at that. By the way, both models work, but we're talking specifically about introverts today. And that's where, Garrett, I love the high trust, you know, and low volume, meaning just low volume of like people that you're engaging with would actually can create a very high margin, high dollar volume business for yourself because you become the pro and you have these incredible raving fans, and we're working on kind of the mathematical formula behind all this to help people kind of just like kind of see how we can make this happen individually versus across the board. And it's really exciting when you get into it. And this also highlights then when you have that like, oh, big on these sides is you're leveraging this communication modality that allows you to stay present without you having to have these detailed conversations with people. Because it's amazing, even if it's not automated, Garrett, when you build out like SOPs like we talked about yesterday. If you build out an SOP around how you text your clients around market updates or new listings that come on in their neighborhood, you don't necessarily have to automate it where you have these automated messages that go out, but you can systematize it so that at the beginning of the week, you get a little alert that says, hey, the Johnsons, the Smiths, and the Fries, had new listings pop up in their neighborhood this week. You may want to send them a text message that says this, this, and this, right? And you have the template ready to go. And it's just like, cool, I'm going to sit down and my hour of power is going to be sending some of those text messages out. And I'm going to leverage these communication modalities that allow me to be present without me actually having to always be connected, because I'm saving that energy for my active clients when I do my client service calls, the people who I need to be engaging with week over week to help them accomplish a goal. And when you have that model built out, I actually sometimes think this might be easier to execute, Garrett, than trying to be on the phone all the time, unless you are really one of those phone people.
Well, it's funny. Like, so I'm one of those phone people. Like, I love being on the phone. I'm one of those annoying people that when you text me, I call you, and people are like,
which is awesome, by the way.
Didn't need to get on the phone with you right now, but I own it. I just call them and I will tell them right up front. Like, I will always do this, just so you know, which has turned into a joke with a lot of people that I interact with often. But I think that it's not the natural place for a lot of people just to jump on the phone. And I think this is where I want people to understand and get really comfortable with that, like, they are not, outside the box here of what normal is by having a small group of people that they really connect well with. And I think it's good to understand that if I was to look at most of my top producing clients and people that are just crushing it out there in real estate, if I was to say, how many people are your core people? The ones that you're like, you know what? If I wasn't doing this business anymore, if I was retired on my own, how many people would you really, truly hang on to as your core people? It's a small group for a lot of people. It's a very, very, very small group. They're not looking at it as like, I'm going to still have these 100 people that I'm going to be making sure I'm having lunches and coffees and dinners with and whatnot. It all of a sudden becomes very small. And I think it's okay to own that and to understand that and be like, I'm not weird for being that person. Like, that's a normal pattern that we just need to find a way to work with it. And I think that's where a lot of people get lost in this, is finding the way to work with it. And so this is where we were also talking, Matt, about like finding the areas that you shine in that allow you to really show up as your best. And for some people, it is throwing an event and bringing everybody together, having a big party on your back porch. Like, that's a place that some people just, you can see them get excited about it, where there's other people that they're like, oh gosh, I have to do what? Like, I don't really want that many people in my house, and I don't want to have to, and just, you can just tell, like, this is miserable for this person. So then it's like, well, is it the environment? Maybe we should do this down at the park so that you're not having to have everybody in your house. Maybe it's not the environment. Maybe it's the amount of people. Maybe it's the crowd. Maybe it's all this stuff that you're just like, it just doesn't feel like me, where then it goes into one-to-one relationships. I'm that type of person. Like, I love the phone. Some people may look at me and go like, oh, Garrett, you're a total extrovert. No, like, I actually thrive off going with one person and going and having lunch, one person and going for a walk, one person. And I spend a lot of time, yes, on the phone talking to a lot of people, but it usually is my way of setting up one-to-one time with people. Dave Pepin's an example of this. Everybody looks at Dave, and they're like, man, that guy is connected with everybody. We're going to interview Dave Pepin. He doesn't know it yet. I haven't really talked to him about it yet, but we're going to interview Dave.
Hopefully by the time this goes live, he already knows about it. So
we'll share it with him. But he's a prime example of, like, he's like, I don't like talking on the phone. But if you ask him, how many phone calls did you make? He goes, well, I make lots of phone calls to set up lunches, to set up one-on-one time, to invite, 2 or 3 guys over to sit in the garage and watch the game, because he's got big old TV set up in his garage to watch the football games. So I think that these are the opportunities that we need to kind of like look at and own.
Yeah. The environment and the activities are extremely important. As we were talking about kids' birthday parties yesterday on the group coaching call. And I'm not like the biggest fan of that being the way that I would develop business. But if I was selling real estate today, I would embrace the birthday parties because my kids are at that age. There's tons of birthday parties. It's an opportunity to meet a lot of people. But I will admit that that wouldn't be my environment to shine. That would be where I would like, hey, how can I get FaceTime with as many people so I know who people are? And then what are my other environments where the people who I really connect with can be pulled into? And for me, that would be like doing something athletic, whether it's joining a gym and doing fitness classes or organizing a paddle day out on the river or something like that, where it's like, okay, in those environments where I'm doing something I really enjoy doing, I can connect with people at a completely different level. And that's important for introverts because a lot of people, Garrett, they look at introvert and extrovert and it's always about, well, I like or don't like people. Kind of like how we started this episode with. And I was like, I don't think that's the case. I think there is a big misconception there. I think it's just, I want to do the things I like with people I like. And this gets into Naval Ravikant, the Almanac of Naval Ravikant, that we just read.
Oh, yeah.
He has an incredible quote in there, which on a prior podcast I attributed to Dan Martell, which I now know where he got it from, is he says, play long-term games with long-term people. And that's where introverts and extroverts can both shine. If you're doing the things you love with people you love, which you'll find those people you love if they also have that common interest. And I think you can, if you focus on setting up your environments like that, hey, how can I set up an environment where I can play a long-term game with long-term people? I'm probably going to do really well in there, and then business will result. That is the beauty of real estate, because everyone out there can buy and sell real estate. I know that not everyone's our ideal client, but here's a great way to get your ideal people in a space where you can develop relationships so they can turn into those ideal clients, Garrett.
So I want to use my wife, Sarah, she loves it when I use her as an example. But she's a prime example of somebody that's like, I don't really like a whole lot of people. Like, she is the shining example of this, to the point that I usually will walk out of coaching calls. I'll walk out a day of my office, and there is a list of people that I have to call that I have no idea who they are, but I have to call them because she doesn't want to pick up the phone and make the phone call because it's so uncomfortable for her. So, but you look at Sarah, and I can go all over town, and people will come in, like, bump up to me and go like, "Oh, you're Sarah's husband," and I'll be like, "Yeah, like how do you know Sarah?" And 9 times out of 10, it all comes back to when the girls were, and my son was like basically from about kindergarten up to about 6th grade. She was very involved with the PTA at our school. She was the one who led the auctions. So all the big auctions, the big fundraisers that we did every year, Sarah like jumped in and organized it. Now she's a business-minded person. So she jumped into it because she was like, talk about competitive, and I love you, sweetheart, but stubborn. Like, she saw the numbers that the other auction had made years past, and she goes, "Oh, we're going to double that."
Sarah's a bit of a perfectionist. If any of you guys have seen our slides and things that are put together, like, that is the genius of Sarah and wanting things to be perfect. And in my mind, it always comes out better than perfect. I'm like, and she's like, yeah, it's not like really how I wanted it.
I really wanted it to
way better than I
this.
thought it would be.
But so she dove into this thing that she loved, which happened to put her around a lot of people that have the same love of their children. They want to show up. They want to help a school out. They wanted the best environment for their kids ever. And she all of a sudden had these people where she's like, oh, that's so-and-so, and this is so-and-so, and they own that business over there, and they're connected over here. And she built in this database of people that, did she want to go have lunch with them? Did she want to go and pick up the phone and be like, hey, how's it going? How are the kids doing? Like, what have you been up to lately? Absolutely not. That was not what she wanted to do, but she found a slight common interest in an environment that put her around these people for years. And they built this incredible, strong trust relationship environment that I think that as somebody who would classify themselves, and I could easily say Sarah is a classic, true core introvert. Like, this is the beauty of when you find things like common interests, like values, like people around you. Some of those relationships Years later, my kids are 21, and I still bump into people who remember my wife from the auction and all that stuff she did. And they're like, oh, let me tell you about Sarah. And I'm like, really? Like, that impact was so strong. And I think we have to find those things, find those ways you can connect with people. It's not that you can't connect. You're just not going to do it in the way of, let's say, chit chat, as we'd say. It's got to be more core value type stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to, you don't always have to be the loudest person in the room if you have a clear purpose that people understand, right? If people know who you are and what you're about, it's not about always being the person who has the spotlight on them. As long as people know who you are, and that's why, you go through these points that we just talked about and you create that system around it, people are going to know who you are, because let's face it, we do engage with other people. If you think you don't like people, I think that you probably are telling yourself a lie, and you do like people. You just don't like some people, or you don't like to do certain things with people.
Here's the thing. Not all of us like everybody. Like, that's the thing to understand. Like, this out of the book, which I thought was so great, and I'm going to butcher this quote here because it's not right here in front of me, but they talked about the uniqueness of everybody, and nobody's interchangeable for other people. And if you realize that every single person out there is a unique individual with their own unique qualities, their own unique stuff, like, there's billions of people. Find the ones that resonate with you. Stop trying to be friends with everybody and thinking that everybody has this innate gift to be friends with everybody. We don't. We find the people we really resonate with. I think that the extrovert side says, I'm a little bit more tolerable of everybody. I can at least roll with more people.
Sure.
Where the introvert side just says, I don't have time for all those people, so I can't interact with all of them, but I really love these people. And I think that that's what you just have to start to own. You have to start to understand. And also know, if you're hanging around the wrong people, go find some new people. There's a lot of them out there.
Yeah. I totally agree. And this is great. So I hope you guys got a ton of value of this. And if you want to hang around the right people, some really great people, you got to come check out our 11 Circle, our group coaching program, where this entire conversation was spawned from. These are topics that Garrett and I have talked about in our individual coaching sessions time and time again, came up in the group coaching yesterday. And we got some feedback too of people just saying, hey, that was a really great conversation, really great session, even people who didn't speak up. So you could get a 7-day free trial if you want to come see what it's like. Just go to lifeat10tenths.com, get the 7-day trial, and you can go back and watch all of our coaching calls. Even if you come in for the 7 days, grab a few coaching calls, watch a success lab like the one with Dan Martell or Matthew Ferrara, get our GPS business planning framework. You can do it all there because it's all right in there for you, which is incredible. And then we would love for you to hang out and stay with us after your trial. But even if that's not for you, we have a starter membership, which is $10 a month, and you can get extra mindset videos. You do get a bit of community because all of our podcast episodes you can comment on. You can comment on the mindset stuff. We have Win the Morning inspiration every single day. We have live sessions for that group as well, including just talking about the book we just mentioned, The Almanac of Naval Ravikant. So many ways to engage. We would love to see you guys in there. And if you are listening on audio and haven't checked out YouTube yet, head over to YouTube. Give us a subscribe and a like. It helps us get a little bit more reach because we love doing this. And you guys ask all the time, hey, how can I support you? One of the best things that you can do to support us is just share the show. Just share it out. If you got value out of it, if you didn't get value out of it, fine. You're probably not listening anymore, though, if that's the case. So
you've turned us off by this time.
Really would, really love you guys so much and appreciate you guys for tuning in and joining us for this journey and listening to the podcast. And keep doing it, guys. Garrett, thanks, man. This was great. Anything we missed?
No, not at all. Not at all. We have so many other thoughts around this that we will bring into other episodes. I appreciate everybody and have an amazing day. And Matt, thank you, sir. Appreciate you tons.
Appreciate you as well. Take care, guys.